what say we get right into the news, Jake?
All right, do it.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Mr. Alpha South American. All the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
News.
We got some news from Capstone Games today. Jake, is there an instant buy for you? Is there like any publisher or designer in the industry that you'd be like, oh, I gotta play everything that person does? I want to be a part of that. Is there anybody you can think of?
Well, there, I don't. I'm terrible with names.
Sure.
I don't know the names of the designers, but there's definitely some games that I liked so much that if I knew it was the same person that did that, I would say yes, let's play that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah,
I think
absolutely. I can say, but I don't like put it together the way you do, where you're like if it was a director,
sure,
that'd be different for me. You know what I mean? I could say like, well, I know I'm gonna like his film kind of thing or her film.
Yeah, that is kind of what it's like. Like once you know.
Yeah, it's the next level deeper when you like appreciate who I mean, I've heard you talk about designers like their histories, like you've read biographies of them. So I'm not quite there, but I do appreciate how you could see it that way for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I basically go to these foreign countries and babysit their kids for a while. I want to get to know the real them. That's the key.
Yeah.
Well, for me, there are some. I try not to have too many auto buys. Like, I really want to play the games and see how they are, but there are a few. I mean, when Splatter comes out with a new game, I'm getting that Splatter game. I don't need to play it. I don't need to know even what it is. They have built up such a trust and a fan base in me that I'm going to get their game every single time.
That's great.
I have to say, Capstone Games is the only publisher that I would put into that category. There are a lot of great publishers out there and ones that I like a lot, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has been on a roll like Capstone Games. They have done so many amazing games lately. I mean, they
What do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out there, Jake. What did you say?
Finger on the pulse. I was just saying, what do you attribute that to? Like, is it just the people running it that have?
I think, yeah, they listen. It could just be that they're on a roll, or it could be that they have a great sensibility and great taste. But starting several years back with Arkwright being the people that picked up Arkwright to publish that, and then going on to Gaia Project and Pipeline, and I mean just over and over again, virtually everything they turn out is at the very least incredibly interesting, including Curious Cargo and all that sort of stuff. Very, very good taste in this company. So when they say they have a new game out and it's called Imperial Steam, I'm like, you know what? I'm virtually gonna buy that without knowing anything about it. Right?
Well, that's a beautiful thing, right?
It is. It is. What do we know about it? We know that it's an industrial age game. You're populating factories with workers. You're building out a rail network. Economics and logistics strategy, supply chains. I mean, what else do you need to know? I mean,
No, that's your jam. You love that one. That's literally.
Yes, I do. I love that kind of stuff. Plays 4 players. It's going to retail for about $70 and should be coming relatively soon. So keep an eye out for Imperial Steam. Next up, Christian T Peterson. This is one of those director names that you probably don't know. Christian T. Peterson is a game designer who then went on to be the founder of Fantasy Flight Games. You've heard of Fantasy Flight many times.
Even the casual gamer has heard of them.
They started off like gangbusters. They did first of all they do all the Twilight Imperium games. But don't hold that against them. I really don't like Twilight Imperium. But in addition to that, they did the original Battlestar Galactica, the game that the first game I ever played with you, Jake.
That's correct.
And tons and tons of other games past there. Netrunner, they did Android Netrunner, which is Maddie and my still one of our top two or. Still one of our top 2 or 3 card games.
That hole so deep.
Yeah, big time, huge, way into it. Well, it turns out that he sold his company to Asmodee, but with that company came some other what would you say, assets. One of those
Properties?
assets. Well, no, assets. Well, in this case, it's a place called Game Center. It was spelled GAMEZENTER, which is a big, sort of retail food and game store. Where you can, sort of, we have a game house cafe in Los Angeles, out in Glendale. That's like that. It's sort of a game store, but really it's more about having a place where people can eat and drink and hang out and play games. Well, this is one in Roseville, Minnesota, and he went about reacquiring it from Asmodee. Basically, he sold them everything, and then he said, "You know what? I'm going to buy this back," because COVID obviously, shuttered that. And he said, "You know what? If you guys, don't see this, don't want to be in the long haul. We know that it's a tough time. I believe in it, and I want to get back into it." And
there's a picture of I think that's what this is a picture of from this article, and it looks really nice. Like, I want to play games there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It looks totally beautiful. There's nothing like, it's really nice.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I really do applaud Christian Peterson for...
It's a cool idea. It's a super cool idea.
Yeah, but putting your money where your mouth is and, making, putting your stake in the ground and saying, I am going to spend money... I'm going to invest in face-to-face gaming and places where people can face-to-face game. I think that's great.
Absolutely. Support the hobby and make it better.
100%. Next up in game news, we have a Kickstarter. We got a couple things on Kickstarter. First one on Kickstarter, Maddie, get your wallet out now. 18 cash and 18 shares is coming out. Mercury Games has created chipsets for 18XX, one of which is a no-brainer, and the other one seems brilliant until I think about it some more. So let's get into it. Basically, everybody who plays 18XX discovers very quickly that a lot of the older games came with paper money, and my God, does the game take longer when you're counting out paper money, whereas you get poker chips and boom, everything is smooth sailing. Well, they decided that we're going to make a premium set of ceramic-grade chips specifically for 18XX. How is that different than poker chips, would you say? Well, the main difference, really, when you get right down to it, is that in poker, you would have a $25 chip. And in 18XX, you have $20 chips instead. That is because $20 is the general increment for buying track in the game. So you
that makes sense.
So you don't need 25, so you don't need to make change and so on and so forth. And these look great. These
They do. They look super great. Like, they make me want to play the game more.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of these games. They usually just give me a headache, to be honest.
Well, which
I know says more about...
No, it's one of those things that you got to you got to play it several times in order to get your feet under you in these games.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, these look great.
Yeah, I thought so too. So
I have ones that are for 2,000. What costs 2,000?
Well, toward the end of the game, you're going to, depending on the game, sometimes the payouts get very, very large, and having a few $2,000 chips. Basically, the 18XX generally ends when the bank breaks. So there's a certain amount of total chips in the game, and when those chips are gone, the game is over. So having $2,000 chips saves you from having to have stacks and stacks and stacks of chips to have the bank be as big as it needs to be. Yeah,
yeah, they look cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then they had to get fancy. Then they said 18 shares. So when you buy shares of a company in 18XX, you get little cardboard pieces of paper, essentially, that lay down on your thing. And the problem with that, they discovered, which I totally agree with, this part I agree with, is that it is difficult to see what other people's holdings are at a glance. I look across the table to see how many shares does Jennifer have of B&O, right? How many shares does she have of the Chesapeake? And I can't tell, right? I certainly can't tell easily. But if you had chips that represented those shares, well, guess what? You can look across the table and you can count how high that stack of chips is. On the surface of it, brilliant, genius, amazing. The only problem is that each game of 18XX has different companies.
Oh, that's funny. So you'd have to buy like 1 million chips.
Not quite. What they say is they say that there are 40 of the most commonly seen companies in 18XX is what they're going to make chips for.
Got it.
So
these ones look great too, by the way. They look super awesome also.
Oh, to the point where one of the chips, the president's share, which is a 20% chip, when you get the cards, when you have the cards representing your ownership, the president's share is worth 20% and everything else is worth 10%. You can see on the side of the president's share chip, it looks a little different. It's got a darker bar in it. So you can easily make out the fact that, oh, that's the president's share right there, just looking at it on its side. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The only question is how many games can you play with this set? And it looks like they're saying that you can potentially play 1830, 1846, 1856, 1870, which, by the way, were the original. 1830, 1856, and 1870 were the first three mass market games that were made of this. 1867 and 18 Chesapeake. But there is this amazing little diagram where you have 1830 and the arrow goes this way and the arrow goes that way. And they're basically trying to say these games share these companies, these games do not. And yeah, so you can literally buy the set for the particular game that you want to play and what you want the set for. But as you mentioned, Jake, this is going to take a lot of purchasing to get a complete set for a lot of things. But completists, Matthew Robinsons of the world, you're gonna be getting this because it's great. It's a great edition.
Awesome,
it's a really smart idea. Yeah.
I like that.
Check it out. And one other thing on the Kickstarter thing, once you hear this, you're going to have about 2 or 3 days left if you want to get in on Monster Hunter World, the board game. Super popular video game, movie that did okay, in the pandemic world. What is good? Who can tell? But Capcom has put out a board game called Monster Hunter World. It has big minis. It has, all the creatures that you can imagine from the world. And listen, I'm not a mini guy. You know this. Cool. You know this about me.
I love a good mini.
But Jake, you love a good mini, right?
It's true. In fact, I could just play like a little 5-year-old with the minis on his desk, like pew, pew, like shooting at each other.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way we figure you play most games.
Yeah, no, I figure that's how I'm seen. That's the image I'm trying to foster for sure.
Oh man. Anyway, so it is available right now. The prices are in pounds. It looks like the base game is, if you want just the base game, it's going to cost around $71. And the core game where you get all the unlocks and sort of like that is right around $142. So not cheap, but it's a mini game. So mini games are a very different story. The production values are much higher. Check it out and see what you think. You might just find it's great. And then last but not least, certainly not least, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the audience out there because we didn't even say anything on the podcast about this, but the 15th annual Golden Geek Awards are up. It is the time of the year for the annual Golden Geek Awards. And not only that, but the nominations for the 10 nominees in each category have already closed and have already been chosen. And thank you, everybody out there, because in our second year, we have been nominated for a second time for the Podcast of the Year.
Wow.
The Best Podcast Award. There are 10 nominees, and we are one of those 10. So thank you guys so much for, without us even talking about it, you got us on that list. it truly is an honor to be nominated. But I gotta say, this is our second year now. Okay, last year it was an honor to be nominated, right? This year, if we lose again, we're gonna start feeling like Susan Lucci.
Oh no! Come on,
right? Aren't we?
I'm not. You know what I'm feeling? First of all, I'm feeling thankful because I know how much work you put in to keep this show going, and to Maddie for starting it up and keeping it going, and just everybody. I'm so happy to be a piece of it. It's amazing that people love it as much as we love it, because I don't know, there's something very great about that. So I'm just thankful. I just think it's amazing.
100%. Thank you all for nominating us. And I just want to ask everybody out there, if you can vote for us for Best Podcast, we would appreciate it. Last year's winner, Heavy Cardboard, is not a nominee, so it's wide open again. We are going to be up against, there's some very good podcasts in here. I like all of our fellow nominees. I think they're great, but I would love, the victory would be so sweet. So if you can, go to Board Game Geek. Everything needs to be in by May 1st, so you have only a little bit of time to vote for Game Brain as the best podcast. We'd appreciate it. In order to vote, you need to have a supporter badge, or pay 20 Geek Gold, or purchase an avatar. Any one of those three things. I gotta say, a year like this, I'm really going to make sure that I donate. I use this time as a reminder to me to, hey, support the Geek at this time of the year, because it really is. It's the center of our community. It's our town square, and in a year where we can't hang out with anybody else, they're still there, and they're still there for us. Our dear friend Candace Harris is a part of the team now. That makes us feel even more connected to it. So please support Board Game Geek, and if and when you do, or if you are eligible to vote, please vote for us for Best Podcast. And thank you again for your support. When we started this podcast, we didn't know if this was going to be a hit or a bust, or if our immediate family and immediate friends were the only people that were going to listen to it. The fact that so many people have come up to us at conventions and contact us on all the social media to let us know what they like, what they don't like, and just how much fun they're having with the podcast. That for us is just about us having fun with our friends. It means the world to us. It really does.
Absolutely.
And we're looking forward to getting out when the world opens back up, and hopefully see more of your smiling faces at more events over the course of the year. Thanks again. Golden Geek Awards. Get in those votes now.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.